On January 1st, I hit 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, and holy moly, that was fast. I'm very thankful and very excited that I could reach such a big milestone so fast, and because of that, I decided I wanted to make a 10,000 subscriber special. I made a community post that was asking people what kind of questions that they had for me, because I just started making YouTube videos, but I've actually been around for almost 4 years now, and I've been kind of like a mysterious figure on the internet. Like, I never did a face reveal before YouTube, and I've always been very quiet about my personal life and even details about niche crochet. So I have an iPad screen over here that displays the questions, so if I'm looking over here a lot, it's because I'm looking at the questions. So this first question says, I'd love to know how you got into crocheting and how long you've been crocheting for. The speed that you crank out critters is incredible. Well, thank you. First of all, before I answer this question, YouTube decided to answer it for me with wrong information. YouTube said, I learned how to crochet when I was a kid. I've been crocheting for about 15 years now. Which, the first sentence is true, but the second sentence is way off. Why is YouTube inventing lore about... YouTube wrote fan fiction about me, right, in response to this comment. That's not right. But anyways, I did learn how to crochet when I was a kid, but I learned when I was 13, which was 8 years ago. So I have not been crocheting for 15 years. But what got me into crocheting was one day my mom bought me a bunch of yarn as a Christmas present because I think she wanted me to get a hobby. And she decided to teach me how to make a granny square. So the very first thing I learned how to crochet was a granny square. And while she was teaching me, I actually picked it up pretty quickly. I remember it being within an hour that I was able to make a double crochet. And I started to make a blanket that was one really big granny square. It wasn't a ton of little squares that I sewed together. It was just one massive granny square. Alright, so here is the granny square reveal. It's this. This is my very first crochet project, and it is literally just one big granny square. I'm trying to find the center. I found it. The center, oh shoot, I lost it. It's right here. The center is right here where my finger is poking out. And there's some ends that haven't even been sewn in. It's kind of ridiculous. But this is a very heavy blanket. Because there's so many very wide holes, it doesn't really keep you warm. But yeah, this is the first ever project that I made, and I actually got to completing it. And right after I got done making this blanket, I was like, I want to move on to making stuffed animals. When I was around 9 or 10 years old, I had a babysitter who knew how to crochet, and she would make me and my siblings stuff all the time. She made us all Ninja Turtles, which was really cool. I loved Ninja Turtles, and I really wanted her to... I had some original characters at the time, and I really wanted her to make, my original characters because I had always dreamed of having toys of my characters that I could play with, and she was probably busy. She just never got around to actually making them. So when I was 13, I was like, I know how to crochet now, and I can finally do this on my own. If I learn how to crochet stuffed animals, I can make whatever I want. And I really wanted to crochet my characters. Plot twist, I never ended up making my own characters, but I did learn how to make amigurumi, and the channel that taught me how was Happy Berry Crochet on YouTube. The first amigurumi project that I made was her scrap yarn turtle, and I don't have a picture or any evidence that I made that turtle because when I made them, I immediately gave them all away to friends, and I don't have anymore. And I had very basic materials. I had a very basic yellow and green to make the turtle, and I didn't have any polyester fiber, so I stuffed it with cotton balls, and it definitely looked like a first project. So that's how I got into crocheting, and I've been doing it all the time ever since. Next question. How did you get the name Niche Crochet, and what was your biggest crochet project? Niche Crochet was not supposed to be the permanent name for my business. Now, obviously, I've decided to stick with it, but that was a very big decision that I wanted to go back on for a long time. I originally made it as a placeholder name because I was opening my Etsy shop and I had not even thought about what to name my business, which I probably should have. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to put a placeholder name in here. And I was like, what rhymes with crochet? I'll just invent a word real quick. It can be any nonsense word that kind of rhymes with crochet. And so I put in niche and then crochet afterwards. And then right when I decided that it was time to like change my business name to something better, I couldn't figure out how to change it on Etsy. I know how to do it now. I figured out how to do it. But by the time I figured out how to do it, it was kind of too late to change it because everyone knew me as Niche Crochet and I didn't want to change it. So what I wanted to change it to, gosh, it was something possum related. I think it was either Possum Dealer, which was my name on Instagram for a while, or it was like Trash Cat Crochet, something like that. I don't remember what it was anymore, but I decided to ultimately stick with Niche Crochet, and I probably could have gotten away with changing it, but the name Niche Crochet has grown on me quite a bit, so I don't have any plans on changing it. And as for my biggest project, I talked way too long about my name. I was able to complete it in the span of a month. I started it in October of 2020, and I finished it in November of 2020. So here is the reveal. This big corner-to-corner rainbow blanket, and it is big enough to fit on a full-size mattress. And it is heavy, and it is thick and dense, and it is soft. It's a lot softer than you would imagine acrylic yarn being, and it's warm. I love this blanket. Next question. What made you focus your crochet on rats and other cute bin creatures? Okay. Do you ever use your talent in other projects? Yes. I actually still crochet possums the most. I have crocheted over 900 possums. I think I'm at number 924 right now. And this was my very first focus when I started Niche Crochet. Back in 2021, I had met a friend who had a profile picture of a possum. And for a long time at that point, I had some sort of like intuition voice in my head that was telling me like, you need to crochet a possum. Eventually, you need to crochet a possum. And so I met this friend and I saw that they liked possums. So I was like, you know what? Today's the day. I'm gonna make that possum. And I made it in less than 3 hours because I had plans to see that friend that day, and I wanted to gift them a possum that day, and I decided at the very last second that I was going to make them a possum. So I free-handed a regular possum, and it was regular color, so it was gray, black, and whatnot. And then as I made it, I wrote down the pattern because I knew that I was going to want to make it again. And after that, I decided to make my own possum, and here's what I made for myself. This is the second possum I ever made. And then after I gave it to my friend, which they really liked their possum, I started my first semester of college a few months later, and I brought this possum with me everywhere I went. And I ended up making friends solely because they liked my possum and they wanted one. So I became this possum dealer around my campus where I was selling these possums, and people were requesting like their own colors and their own like designs for their possum, and I was like, you know what? This should be like a major focus of my business. Next question. How would you recommend getting into crochet? Do you have any recommendations for instructional videos or materials like hooks or yarns? So it honestly depends on what kind of stuff you want to start making. So if you want to make like wearables or blankets or scarves, then I don't really have good advice for you because that's not the type of stuff that I specialize in. If you want to start making amigurumi like me, I suggest buying 1 or 2 skeins of yarn to begin with, and you can go to the cheapest place you can find yarn, especially if you're on a budget. You should buy a 4mm crochet hook and a 3mm crochet hook at least. You should start by watching YouTube tutorials. And when you watch these YouTube tutorials, you will slowly learn not only how to make the stitches, but you will learn the terminology, the proper terminology for the stitches that will enable you to read crochet patterns without a video tutorial eventually. One YouTube channel that I recommend the most is Happy Berry Crochet, because she has very slow, calm, and very informative YouTube tutorials on how to crochet basic stitches. And this YouTuber is who taught me how to crochet these amigurumi stitches that led to me crocheting what I make today. If you were asking like the specific type of hooks or yarns, honestly, don't be picky. The first yarns I ever used was Red Heart Super Saver, and they're known for being like a very cheap and kind of almost rough feeling yarn. But if that's what you have access to and if that's what you can afford, there's nothing wrong with using it, in my opinion. Next question. Can you do a backflip? No. Do you write patterns first or just crochet? Or do you use pattern from the interweb? So I do sometimes use patterns from the internet, and usually when I do that, I buy them off Etsy. I made this shrimp off of a crochet pattern that I bought. However, I do not do this a lot. I actually most of the time develop my own crochet patterns. Usually I approach it by I just start crocheting, and I have like an idea of a shape that I'm going to make in my mind, and then I have an idea of how I'm going to get there, but I don't plan that far ahead. I kind of plan as I'm making it, and then I write down the round after I made it. I notice you have a lot of colorful shirts. What are your favorites? Okay, so I read this question and I got really excited because I really wanted to show you guys my shirts. My absolute favorite is this shirt, my yellow Hawaiian shirt. It's just like a very pleasing shirt to look at. I get a lot of compliments when I wear this shirt out and about, and it's just another very aesthetically pleasing shirt. Opinions on baked potatoes. This might be controversial, but I think that baked potatoes are a bit overrated. Even if you put butter or sour cream or bacon or cheese or whatever on it, I just feel like there's a better way to go about making a potato. This person asks, what other projects are you working on? So first of all, I'm working on this project that is part of a home decor project. I'm setting it up here. But it's these little triangular granny squares that I'm working on, and they're in these 4 colors. And I'm going to make a billion of these, and then they're going to get hung up around the top trim of my living room. Another thing I'm working on is it's a gibbon, and it's a life-sized semi-realistic gibbon. Now so far the only parts of it that I have gotten done are the arms. So this is the arm, and it has an elbow that bends, and it has individual fingers with knuckles on it and a thumb. And I have both of the arms made, and they each have their own unique crochet patterns. And then, now this is not a part of the finished piece, but I also made a mini model of the face, just so that I have an idea of what the actual face would look like. So this is the face. It does not have eyes. It looks kind of creepy right now, but it has a mouth that can open and close because they tend to sing and holler. And this is what the face, something like what the face will look like when it's finished, but it'll be bigger and have more details and overall look better. And so this is what I have done with my gibbon so far, and I'm really excited to finish this. I had a temperature project once. So you know how some people crochet a temperature blanket where they take the high or even the average temperature of every day, and that determines the color of a round that they're making on their blanket, and they make these very beautiful colorful blankets out of that. And one year I was like, I want to do that, but I don't like crocheting blankets, even though I've made 2 before. And so I decided to make a temperature possum, and I never got around to finishing it, but I did the majority of 2022, and here's what it looks like. It is a little bit longer than my wingspan, and this was May of 2022, and I think this is the beginning of January 2023. I didn't start at the beginning of the year because I got the idea in May and I just wanted to start it right away. But this is how far I got before giving up. And this was actually like really hard to work on because some days I would have to change the color like every single round. And it was getting to a point where it was really hard to maneuver this thing while I was crocheting in the round. So that's ultimately the reason why I gave up. But I got so far. Last question. This person asks, I'd like to know about your other hobbies and interests. Thank you! Other things that I like to do, I like to ride my bike, which sounds like silly, like, oh, I like to ride my bike, like I'm a little kid. The longest I ever rode my bike in one day was like 30 miles. I think it was close to 30. It was like 28 or 29 miles. I also really like to draw, and I wouldn't consider myself like exceptionally good at drawing, but I also have been drawing for my entire life, and I like to create my own original characters and like I guess put them in situations. I also like to write, but I haven't been doing that as much recently, and I've been finding it really difficult to write. I have a sketchbook. This is one of my characters. Another one of the characters. I do. So this is supposed to be Patrick, and that's Mr. Krabs, and that's SpongeBob, and these are supposed to be like apes, I suppose. I don't know, man. I also have another character that might make you guys mad. He's a bird that has a mouth and a beak. And as for interests, I have an interest in like primatology. And that's like the study of primates. And I'm specifically interested in like apes, not just great apes, but also gibbons too, obviously, because I'm starting on like making a gibbon. I'm just really interested in like apes because of how closely related they are to humans. I'm really interested in like human evolution and like archaeology and stuff in like under the like anthropology label, I suppose. And I've been like watching a lot of videos and I've even been like reading textbooks that are related to that and been like learning a lot about that subject. I can't get enough of it right now. That was the last question for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you would like me to make another one of these videos. I'm going to have a pinned comment. If you have any more like questions that you would like me to answer in a video, you can go ahead and reply to that comment so that I know where to find those questions. I'm currently working on another Will It Rat where I'm working on Christmas tinsel, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's shocking me in ways. That's all I'm gonna say. If you'd like to support me, visit nichecrochet.com. I'm having a restock on January 17th, and there's going to be rats, there's going to be glow-in-the-dark rats, there's going to be possums, and I also have a critter of the month that is an abominable snowman possum, and he's going to be available on January 17th as well. So if you're interested, go check that out on January 17th, and if you'd like to buy a crochet pattern, they're always available. You don't have to wait. Go to nichecrochet.com, and thank you for your support. Thank you for 10,000 followers. I love you guys. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.